we have, if there's no objection, we'll just accept the acceptance of the agenda as is. The minutes, I need a motion.
Approved.
Second.
There's been a proper motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on vote? Hearing none. Is everyone ready to vote? All in favor, signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. Passes unanimously. We've got, that's the approval of the February 22nd minutes. We've got now, we're on 4 ordinances and resolution, and resolution 2215 is a resolution accepting the dedication of the streets in Lake Harbor, section 4. And I need to look at that before we go any further. Any discussion with that? Now we'll go ahead and need a motion.
I move approval.
I second.
Okay, there's been a proper motion and approval. Any discussion on this? Do you have any?
I don't have
Okay,
anything.
all right. All right. Hearing no discussion, is everyone ready to vote? There's been a proper motion and proper second. All in favor of resolution 2215. This is accepting the dedication of the streets in Lake Harbor, section 4, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, it passes unanimously. All right, so let me write that down. All right, item B under ordinances and resolutions is resolution 2022-16, a resolution accepting the dedication of streets in Durham Farms, a section 22, phase 2, section 2425. I need a motion.
So moved.
There's
Second.
been a proper motion, a proper second, and discussion. Did you all go over and look at those? They look great too. Okay, well, hold on, just say when they look. The reason I did, I just want to know where exactly that is, and I appreciate you showing that map.
Mhm.
Over there.
How many streets total will there be in Durham Farms? Does anyone even know?
I don't know the total of streets offhand. There are 36 sections. But those are broken up.
Yeah.
Very.
You gotta understand that goes from Hendersonville all the way down to Long Haul. Is that, in that? my
Ultimately,
understanding?
yes.
Eventually, yeah, eventually it will. So it'll go away, a long ways on there. But that's a good question because I don't know
Yeah.
ourselves. All right. Our staff's been out there looking at them. Everybody's cool with that. Hearing no discussion, is there any other discussion on it? Hearing none, is everybody ready to vote? All in favor of resolution 16, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passes unanimously. On to item C. Resolution 2217 is a resolution authorizing the city to apply for state grant funds from the Project Diabetes. Somebody's gonna have to tell me about that one. Who is here?
I can.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Oh, excuse me, just a second. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Say, okay, now.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We brought this to the committee last month before
Right.
we submitted the letter of intent.
Yes,
Our letter of intent was accepted and they asked us to go along with the full application,
right.
which is due in mid-April. So we wanted to bring back to you all because this would, if we get the grant, obligate the city to spend funds, not just this coming fiscal year, but for 2 years after that on 3 separate projects.
Okay.
I cannot sit here and tell you the first project, the first fiscal year we put in the grant request is for pickleball courts.
Right.
We're getting close to a cost estimate and bringing you all choices of where to put it and what those costs would look like. We are not quite there yet. I mean, we've kind of done it in record time for today's, I would say, turnaround on projects, but we're getting pretty close to being able to bring you a cost estimate. So I can't tell you if it's going to be over 150,000 to build pickleball courts. depending on where we put them and what things you want to go with them will determine the cost of that project. That is the first project. The second fiscal year, we requested a completion of the greenway at Volunteer Park that goes around the complex. So a lot of citizens all the way from that neighborhood walk to Volunteer Park, use the restrooms, walk around the sidewalks there. And the third year, we have requested, put in here for outdoor fitness equipment along the greenway at Drake's Creek Park, which we currently do not have any of. So those are the three projects we plan on putting in our grant application. But I wanted to get y'all's approval and then in 2 weeks get BOMA's approval before we apply for this grant, because it's a lot of money over a 3-year period of time.
Jesse, you have anything on this one, or Mayor?
I might want to tweak those projects between now and the board meeting. We'll get together about that.
Okay,
So what is the city's portion of the matching?
It's $150,000 per year for 3 years that you must spend in that year. So that's why it's 3 separate projects. We can't say, okay, we're going to build pickleball courts over 3 phases.
Okay.
Because it's reimbursable within that 1 year.
Okay,
But there's no match.
There is no match from the city.
that's,
The
You
city
just
has
have to be, you have to understand that if it's a $200,000 project,
you
we
pay the
would be on the
rest.
hook for that other 50.
And so are we, when we do the application, are we bound by the 3 projects?
Once we turn in that application with those 3 projects, that is what we will apply for. So between now and the time it goes to BOMA, if there's going to be a tweak to that application, then that needs to happen within 2 weeks.
But it has to be.
And those have to match up with the strategies and things that are prescribed within the grant.
But it has to be to help with the reduction of diabetes, I guess. So it has
Promote
to be
activity, promote
cardio, something.
promote
cardio.
activity, promote access to activity.
Okay,
The one thing, the one off the top that I would say after we had a call on Friday with the state, the outdoor fitness equipment to do, that's the 3rd year. To do that, you have to also put in your application how you're going to program that. In other words, they don't want you to just throw something out there and it sits there. They want to see a plan for how you're going to have groups out there using it. And, you know, currently, other than at the senior center, there's really not a place where we have staff that can go lead a fitness class.
right.
Because we don't have our own community center, we don't have people on staff to do that. We can come up with ways to do that, but that is one that I would say within the next 2 weeks. And you tell me if you've heard anything different, but they specifically called out outdoor fitness equipment. Now, keep in mind, we'd already written this resolution before that phone call on Friday. So that is one you could see change between now and BOMA, but it will be something that goes along with the strategies prescribed in the application process.
what's the likelihood that we will receive this?
I have no idea. This is
Okay.
brand new to me, and
Okay,
we are getting help from Kimley Horn, and I got their help because it's critical that the master plan show that we got public input on things like this.
okay, thank you.
Any questions?
I do, and I'm all for grants.
I know.
I love grants. And these 3 areas are very exciting. I think they will be utilized. And I just wanted to follow up with Alderman Robertson about implementing a diabetes awareness program, whether that's online on the parks website or the city, or somehow that's incorporated with this diabetes grant, I think is very important. I don't know how you go about doing that, but.
Well, one way we're doing that is for 2 years, we've been in the process of, this is before most everybody's time in here, we've been in the process with Vanderbilt of an obesity grant that they are writing through the state also, where they would come in and actually host classes in like our meeting rooms at the park.
Okay.
That was put on hold for COVID. So that's one thing that they're bringing that back. So hopefully that will be an option. But the other thing to me is being able, maybe not necessarily a diabetes program, but for us to just start promoting programs that deal with the age people that are not necessarily youth. Putting that in the best terminology that I can, that can get people in the parks and groups and active ways, whether it's the walking club or pickleball is an example. I mean, that age group is 40 to 70, basically. So there are things that we are actively trying to do to increase activity amongst the more advanced age group.
I was reading posts about pickleball today on social media. So people are excited that we might have facilities here. I know there's temporary courts at a park where the tennis courts are.
Yes, sir. We're trying to, we'll have a schedule out for April and May here within the next week or so.
Okay. Good news. Thank you.
All right. I would only ask that once this gets closer, or that the mayor and parks director, y'all get together on this.
I doubt I'm gonna wanna make any changes, but I don't think we should make a decision until we absolutely have to.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, and I mean, I think we actually have 3 weeks this time between the second meeting of the month. So, I mean, the first Tuesday in April. So we have to submit some written questions to the state to tie them down to some written answers.
Okay.
So there's a couple things I want to ask them. So
Sure.
you may be tweaked by the time it gets to Bowman, but
Okay.
you will be notified.
The only thing I'd add on the
Yes.
pickleball
Yes.
is I talked to a friend of ours, Ronnie Daniels. And he's in this athletic equipment, so forth. And he said, if we do move forward on the option of volunteer park,
Veterans Park.
Veterans Park, where the inline temporary, that we should make that concrete and not asphalt. Concrete will withstand if there is flooding. And said it's probably a little more expensive, but it'd be a lot less headaches down the road. So I don't know, in getting the estimates, if you could say, give us an estimate on asphalt and concrete.
We can ask that question.
He suggested to go concrete for durability. That's all.
Can you suggest that Ronnie get back in the tennis court resurfacing business?
Said he's too busy now.
Doesn't want to do that. Oh, that's funny. All right. Any other further discussion on that? All right.
No.
Where does this go now? To finance, or are you just holding back until we're ready?
It's gonna go to Bowman.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, sir.
All right. All in favor, if there's no other discussion, is everybody ready to vote? All in favor of resolution 2022-17, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passes unanimously. And we look forward to seeing what it is. All right, we've got the new business done. We have several other agenda items on, but let's go with the golf course commission minutes first.
Yeah, I'm on the golf course.
Right. I knew
commission,
you
And
were.
Andy's here as well. They have a budget surplus,
Oh,
a
great.
good surplus. And so they want to spend some of that surplus on needed improvements. Several of them are actual maintenance on our city building, the clubhouse. But they want to spend $40,000, and Robert and John, and I think the staff has concluded that all we need to do, since they are at a budget surplus, is just notice that they intend to do this. And that still leaves them a very healthy balance in their fund in case they have to pay it for the golf cart building. So
We don't even know what that's going on. That's still ongoing then, right?
It is. It's getting ready to go to arbitration, I believe. They have the arbitrators picked. But no action, it's my understanding, is needed on this. It's just to notify us.
Right. And what do they want, the 40, what do they want to do with it again?
Help me, Andy. One is,
There's a list of prioritized maintenance needs.
Oh, okay. It's
From
just like
repairing the cart path to adding an exit from fairway number 4, several cosmetic issues at the clubhouse itself, improvements to the driving range, just several.
Okay.
Some ongoing maintenance, some additions, I would say.
Okay, no.
typically I would think that the building maintenance and improvements would be paid for by the city, but because the golf course has the surplus, the budget available, they're willing to pay for those maintenance items on the building. And I think Public Works just went out and inspected it as well. So
Yeah.
we'll wait to hear that
Good.
report.
Okay.
Well, what's the status on that cart barn, the structure? Is it still safe while we're waiting for arbitration?
Yeah, it's temporarily shored up, so they're shoring in place to brace what was damaged so that they can continue to work in there.
How long do you think arbitration is gonna take?
It's been more than a year.
Yeah, the problem with arbitration is it takes two sides, and one of the sides, the insurance side's not in a hurry to resolve it. So we at least have 3 arbitrators. City has one, they have one, and then we have a neutral third-party arbitrator. And the staff will do a presentation of why we think that this claim should be approved. And they will take the opposite, that it shouldn't be approved. And, typically if the parties can get together and if there's not a lot of discovery and it shouldn't be depositions, but, 30 days should be able to come to a conclusion, I would think, if everybody will work together and meet and try to resolve it.
You have arbitration and then you have, should they find in our favor, we're unclear as to what damages at that point, how that's determined. So it could be a while.
But the building is shored up. We spent several $1,000s for that, to shore it up, to make it safe. And thank goodness we didn't
I
have
remember one.
ice and snow this year that further damaged it, but it is leaking. So they're having to move the equipment around from the leaks, and it's very temporary. It's not a good situation.
Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah. I feel strongly that they'll side with us. I mean, I was shocked when well, I'm gonna leave it, I'll leave that alone since they're still discussing it. All right, the next thing is, is there any other further discussion on the golf course? The other is the trash collection update.
We had a good month. Last month, the misses were down another 10 approximately. So we have a downward trend, which has been very positive.
That's good. All right. Any questions on the trash?
No, the graphic doesn't look very encouraging. It's going straight up.
Yes, we have 2 days where we exceeded 20 misses for those days. One of them was right after a holiday, which is to be expected.
Okay.
That's very typical. And I believe the 14th was a Monday, and that is also not completely out of the norm. Because what happens is you have people get missed maybe on Wednesday, the previous week, and they wait a couple days to call. And so then by Monday, you've had all these people from the previous several days calling.
Okay.
And you're right, this isn't very representative of the downward trend that we're seeing. We
Okay.
could probably show 3 months to really clearly indicate that.
Well, it's a good thing we have a trash workshop scheduled for later tonight.
Indeed.
I didn't even know that. That we have a scheduled trash thing after the meeting tonight.
As long as y'all don't talk too much.
I don't have anything to say, man. Oh my God. Okay. Well, super. Good times. Okay. Any other further discussion on the collection of trash in Hendersonville? I know this is, but we are fortunate. It looks like Nashville got their stuff together, so it's working out for them, thank God. It was looking kind of rough there for a while, so Why don't we go on now to the roads and Ruby Drive discussion? The only thing I want to say the history is we came in to discuss it last time. And so I'm assuming you all have done more research on it, on that. So we'll go ahead and talk about it. Let's go.
Sure, so, is it Miss Covell? Is that
Yes.
right? Yes, so we have Miss Covell who lives off
I'm
of,
sorry, I should have
Oh,
identified you.
that's okay.
That's
okay.
That's my
No,
Thank you all. Good seeing
have a
you,
good
sir.
night. Ruby Drive and utilizes what was previously platted as Rhodes Drive as a driveway. And there are several neighbors that do utilize that as a shared driveway. And they've been bringing in gravel to reestablish that. When we spoke previously, we were discussing the history of Rhodes Drive. John Bradley, city attorney, had mentioned that what the plat was this Rhodes Drive was platted prior to the annexation for all that property from the county, and that roadway was not annexed in as part of that annexation process. So his statement was that he could only confirm that Rhodes Drive was not city right of way, but could not confirm whether it was actually core property or whether it had been abandoned to the property owners through that process. He could not confirm either of those things. So last time we discussed what the city could do as far as maintaining the drive, Rhodes Drive, and managing the stormwater. And staff has looked at managing the stormwater from the roadway, and we just haven't been able to prioritize that project yet, simply because we already had our drainage list for this fiscal year, all the projects, so that the funds and the time had already been scheduled for the year. So we are looking at scheduling those improvements for the stormwater management from the public right of way for this next fiscal year. But as far as, I believe you may be here to discuss Rhodes Drive and the future.
I'm here to discuss both, actually, because Ruby Drive directly impacts Rhodes Drive
Mhm.
because the water comes rushing down.
Mhm.
And not only does it impede Ruby Drive, but it also begins to wash ruts immediately into Rhodes Drive that we neighbors are,
Mhm.
for want of anyone else wanting to claim it, to make it drivable out of our own expense, we have been maintaining it. And it doesn't work, because anytime we get any gravel in there, if we have several rainstorms, severe, which we all know we can have, the water will just rush right down from Ruby Drive. And so it's a pretty frustrating situation.
That might help.
So is Ruby Drive in the city
It is.
according to, okay,
That's public right of way.
okay.
And all of the properties that utilize Rhodes Drive have access to a public roadway.
Actually, that we don't. I mean, we have to use Rhodes Drive to get to Ruby Drive. The other properties have choices if they choose, except one of the neighbors also uses Rhodes Drive for their first story area, where people will park there and want to come up Rhodes Drive too. So
So is this Rhodes Drive?
yes.
So it, okay.
That hadn't changed a bit, except that you got more gravel there.
Well, we don't anymore.
Okay.
We have some, but
That's the house. That's where she lives right
How many houses use Rhodes Drive? 2?
3. Mhm. One is just breaking ground, so they will definitely be using it. We have another right across the yard from us that uses it.
Are all those houses in the city?
Yes, they're all in that cove, right on Ruby, surrounding Rose
All of
Drive.
them pay city taxes,
Correct.
what you're saying.
Mhm.
So is Ruby Drive, is it in rough shape as well? I've not been out there.
Yeah, my understanding from our last meeting here is that chances are the drainage is extremely old and probably has not ever been replaced, would be what I recall from the last meeting. Now, I will say, to be honest with you, I was very encouraged. There are some marks put on Ruby Drive that we thought, oh, okay, you're going to come and start working on it. And that was a very long time ago, and that's all we've seen. I'm assuming the town marked Ruby Drive with those, with that marking. Now, I could be wrong.
I don't believe it was Public Works.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, well then I'm not sure.
You know what color?
Blue,
Blue.
does that signify something?
It's probably water.
That's what I was thinking. Utility district.
Oh, okay, I see.
You mentioned there's a new house being built.
Mhm.
Is that on Ruby Drive or Rhodes Drive?
Both. It's right on the corner. It's a very small plot of land, and they are just breaking ground as we speak. And it's right next to us.
So are there any mailboxes on this Rhodes Drive?
Not on Rhodes Drive, right at the top of Rhodes and Ruby, we do have one mailbox, which is ours
And
for
is that-
108
And is that address Ruby Drive or Rhodes Drive?
Ruby Drive.
So it's the city attorney's opinion that Rhodes Drive is not a city road.
Yes.
So we would have no responsibility
Mm.
since it's not a city road for that.
But if Ruby Drive were what's the word I want to use, re-drained, for want of a better description, that would go a long way to help that driveway.
And I think our director has said, couldn't do it this year because the project's already been allocated, but next year.
We
gonna
are
try
looking
to-
at it for next year.
Try to get it on the schedule for next year.
And what month would that be?
That's not been established yet. The prioritization would be for our public roadway. We have several failing corrugated metal pipes under our roads that must be replaced to protect the integrity of our roads. So those would be prioritized first, and then when we would look at doing other projects like this. We are beginning that process now, but we haven't finalized anything.
It's
Do
taking
we,
a very long time.
do we know of any projects that the utility district are down there with besides this, we saw the blue spray paint, and I think that is the utility district, but have they notified the city of any?
I'm not aware of the
Yeah.
project right now.
So if the utility district did work on it, would they have to do the drainage repairs or would we have to?
If the utility district,
If they ran new main
uh,
or something?
we would have to do the drainage repairs, yes.
Okay.
I guess I'm a little confused between we Hendersonville versus the utility district.
Mm.
Do you know why they may have put those markings there? If, I'm just trying to get a relationship between the,
They're separate
Hendersonville.
entities.
Yeah.
They're separate entities, although it's called Hendersonville Utility District. They're
Okay.
completely separate from the city of Hendersonville.
so is it possible that we need to be in touch with them as well?
Not specifically related to this, but if you wanted more information about the purpose of the markings, you would contact them directly.
Okay,
Yes.
and is that under Hendersonville Utilities or?
Yes, it's called Hendersonville Utility District.
Okay.
Is there on Indian Lake Drive.
Mhm.
They're on the left-hand side. It's about, God, they're just within. I don't even know what the address is,
But
but
it's
if you,
probably where you get water service.
yeah, when you get your water bill,
Yeah.
just look at the address right there. It's so
Gotcha.
close.
Oh.
I mean,
And it's
you
got
can't
a
miss
number.
it.
Well, it'd be worth a call to them at least and to see.
I think it
what
would.
their
That's why I
plans
raised
were.
the issue.
Mhm.
Because they have a building that's real close to you.
Mhm.
Just right across the street, actually. It's down on there on the left
Right.
and on the dead end. And it very well may be good to see what they are projecting for that area.
It is also possible if they're getting ready to build a home, they may have marked their lines.
Good, that's a good point.
Mm.
Good.
For
They
the new
could have.
construction, that's possible.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll just have to wait and see.
We'll keep
We
in touch
continue to
with-
wait.
Continue, I know this is distressing to you, because this is
Yes.
distressing to me
Quite
too.
frankly.
You know, but keep us posted when you do speak with them and just see, because you never know with those guys. They're very, we have a really good working relationship. And if we see something that we might be able to piggyback on with them, or if they can help us out, they will do it. They've been known to do that before. So when you do speak with them, there's probably, as well as I know you'll probably be on the phone first thing in the morning. And that's.
You know me well.
And that's okay. I expect that. And let us know, or give me a call or something like that, and let us know what they say about it. Because it is important to us. Is there any further discussion on this?
Can I get, how do you spell your last name?
Covell.
Okay, that's what I had. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Thank you for the.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
You bet.
That's such a heartbreaking thing when I can remember as a kid that was geez, I'm telling you that roadway was down there. I just know that it was because I knew all those people that lived there, and they're all passed on. But it's a heartbreaking for us, to wash our hands with it, because there's nothing we can do. And it is, so sorry for her.
I guess because there's no longer a boat ramp. The
Yes.
Corps doesn't
Yeah.
maintain it.
I don't think so. I've never seen. And I'm on TV, I'll just leave it at that. We'll talk about it later. But I've spoken with the Corps about it before. And we'll talk about it later. But the next item we have is the world famous light synchronization update.
Yes, we have really good news.
Well, that's great. That's great
Yeah.
news right there.
It is. We have
Okay,
really good
during the
news.
meeting, right, we got great news. Well, I don't know what it is, but it sure is great.
We have received approval for right-of-way certification, and so they've approved the resubmittal of our construction documents. So our CEI consultant is updating the bid book and the estimate. We'll have to submit those to TDOT that's a fairly quick review. It doesn't go to all the divisions. It is a fairly quick review typically. It is. So that we should get that turned around pretty quickly, and then we'll be able to re-advertise for construction. So very exciting.
So I have a question. I know, Mayor, you told us that, can't remember the meeting, but that other cities were having trouble with this as well, and that you were going to talk to our legislative or Leader Lambert.
Mhm.
So can you give us an update on that?
Sure. That's why I came to sit up at the table. I appreciate you asking that. He had noticed that other cities had been having trouble, and he requested a meeting with TDOT. This is a couple weeks ago. He had a meeting with him about 10 days ago. I don't think it's coincidental that we're moving forward. It has a lot to do with the patience and all the work and all the I's that were dotted and T's that were crossed by our staff. But certainly we need to give credit to Representative Lambert for making sure that TDOT didn't have any more questions.
So would it be appropriate for the board to send a letter thanking him
Yeah.
for, did other legislators get involved, or was it just the leader?
The other ones knew that there were
Okay.
issues, but I'll put that together.
Yeah, I would love to, if you need a motion or whatever, I'd love to send him a letter thanking. And I wonder, after the session, if it would be a good idea for us, it's always dangerous, I guess, but for us to meet with our legislative delegation and talk about some priorities and how we can better work with the state, and just have a brown bag lunch or whatever, and a dinner, and just kind of talk to them and thank them. And because this has proven to me that sometimes when the bureaucrats don't move, you have to go to the next step.
I agree.
So, okay, very good. Thank you.
And I'm sure that all of our legislators would appreciate that opportunity to come sit down with us.
Yeah.
So Congressman Rose did that a couple of years ago and it worked out. And I'll work on that.
Yeah,
Good job.
so we need the quick review as to what organization.
TDOT.
Yes, so I go to TDOT.
So hopefully by our next meeting, will we have it out for bid?
We should.
Okay,
We should. Our consultants are working on updating the bid book and the estimate this week. And then we'll submit to TDOT probably early next week.
perfect,
Mhm.
perfect. Very good news.
All right, I know the Board of Aldermen will be happy. I know I'm just elated.
Yes, they will be thrilled, as will the residents. However, it's still a 2 to 3 year construction process. Is that correct?
Well, pending materials, if materials present themselves to be an issue, sourcing the materials, that could extend the construction timeline. But this project should only be about a year to construct.
Okay,
And it's the first phase
right.
of a
Phase.
2-phase
Right.
project.
Yeah.
But at least it's movement,
It's positive movement.
Yeah.
Mhm.
because you said the second phase shouldn't be as complicated.
It will not take as long as this project has.
All righty. Is there any other discussion for anything on the board?
I've got a couple of things I want to ask about. Safely, the homes on Safely that we're supposed to take down.
Mhm.
We had a complaint, as you're aware, that it was a nuisance and trash and so forth.
Mhm.
Do we have a status on those houses?
They are, they're undergoing abatement and demolition currently. So they are abating the asbestos
Okay.
and other contaminants from the homes, and then they will proceed with demolishing. The closing timeline on that project is the end of June. So they will be completed within the next month or two.
Has to be done by June?
Yes, and then
Okay.
we have to finalize the project by June.
Good. What about Brookside? I know Mr. Henry said that we were going to hire somebody to clean that up.
I think they were out there yesterday and today.
Okay,
That was their plan and the weather was good enough.
okay.
Yeah.
And the last thing is, how do we go about requesting a traffic study? Is that safety? Is that the police or is that public works? A traffic study,
Well, it depends on the purpose, I guess.
speeders.
Speeders. So the police department has the capability to do a speed study. They have the radar equipment now that they can set out and collect that data. And it'll calculate the 85th percentile and things like that for them. So they have the capability, and so does Public Works.
We can ask them to do it.
Okay. We had a complaint on Scott Street.
Yes.
Bird songs, the bird songs. And they live right before the school. Is that Whitten? right before,
Yes, Whitten Elementary.
right before Witten on the way to the park.
It's Wessington because that was 10 years ago. It's Whitten now.
Okay.
So,
And they're claiming that cars to go to the park are just, when school's not in session, that they're just barreling down through there. I would like to request a traffic study done after school is dismissed. So
Mhm.
that would be May or something.
Okay,
And do a traffic study so that we can actually look to and quantify if there are speeders on that road going to the park.
okay.
So whenever school's out, if we could do a traffic study there, that would help us understand how bad the problem is.
Sure.
Is
So-
there a problem with that?
No, through the public works, typically, now we have a traffic calming policy
Okay.
that would go through that process. So they would do the petition and all of those things, and then staff would do a speed study to evaluate the conditions. Police, typically, they would do that and just evaluate whether they need to bump up enforcement. It helps to give them their timelines as well as when they have the highest speed rates. Also, I know, and speaking with police, the traffic and parking committee, one thing that they really like to do is to meet residents out on site and let them hold the radar gun. And actually, because you can see someone and you think they're going 50 miles an hour when you're standing, stationary. But then the radar only picks them up going 30, 35. And that's what I hear from police a lot, is that education piece is really helpful with residents. So that would be another option to request.
can they do the traffic study in the summer? Or can you
Yes.
okay, so
Yeah.
that'd be the first step no matter what.
Yeah, they have equipment that it's similar to what Public Works has, but they have a radar unit that they set out and it just records for a couple days or a few days, and then they take it back and download the information, and the software automatically calculates.
I'll send myself an email to ask them to do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Also, we've also had a request on Harbor Drive
Mhm.
of, there was a wreck, but the guy left. I don't know. I think, Jim, you might be familiar with it. I don't know. If one of the residents has called you yet. If not, expect a call. I'll
Okay.
talk to you later about it. I don't know. I think it might be best, when he hit the mailbox, man, he hit the mailbox. And, but he left. His car was still smoking. I don't know if the police have, leaving the scene of an accident or whatever. I'm not sure. I don't know what the status of what the police department has done. But that just happened. Probably this past weekend, and the guy left and they got his license plate number, and I know they've turned it in. So I don't know what the procedure for having Public Works ask, or do I just call Chief Miller about it? What?
We can get it. Let us
It
know.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, let us know approximately what time and we can get it.
Okay, I will.
Is this a problem that everybody's experiencing? I mean, I've got 2 or 3 neighborhoods that are complaining about speeders. Is this a citywide
Let me tell you
situation?
this is my observation for several years of being in office. It increases, it's like anything, in the spring and the summer, it increased speed, keeps going, I mean, it increases. And then when it gets cold in the winter, they obviously will slow down because they don't want to wreck. But it is a problem sometimes in specific areas of Hendersonville. And sometimes we ask, which I have done in the past, I've asked the motorcycle police officers to park in strategic areas. And most people in their driveways, and they'll say, yeah, sure, we'll do it. And they'll do that. But the problem is, it's like the same old thing. They will slow down when they see them, coming. And then they'll slow down for a couple of days, and the police officer has to go somewhere else.
Sure.
And then they just jack it up again, they'll go, so.
It's also been COVID related. 2 years ago, round numbers, our officers are writing 60 or 70% warnings. And the remainder were tickets. What happened is more people are home. They're not in Nashville.
True.
So they're going to Starbucks at 10 in the morning and creating traffic that we didn't used to have. They're also going through school zones at 3 o'clock in the afternoon that they used to be in Nashville at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So we had a couple of situations where we just had more accidents. And so Chief Miller, Assistant Chief Jones, and the traffic folks decided they need to flip that ratio. And so for about the past year and a half, they've been writing more tickets than they have warnings. But it's weekly that I get an email from somebody that says that they have more speeders in their subdivision. And we do our best to help, but what I always tell Chief Miller and Jesse is that I can't tell you to make this the highest priority. It's just got to be one of the priorities because it means you're moving an officer from a different neighborhood to come to this neighborhood.
You're moving them out of their zone. And, once you get into their zone, police officer is familiar with that area. I mean, it's a tough call.
It's happening more though.
Yeah, it
You
is.
know,
And
And
are
I
y'all
agree with that,
getting
Jenny.
more complaints too about loud mufflers on cars? I'm getting a lot of complaints that these kids are driving cars with cherry packs on them or whatever, and making loud noises. So I'm just being bombarded from Durham and from Alton Creek
Yeah.
and some of these neighborhoods that are just, but anyway, so when we get those complaints, what's the procedure that the staff would like for us to follow? When we get a complaint on speeders, how should we handle that?
There's a couple of things you can do is there's actually a form online that we have on our website. And I think it's pretty early on, but you can go to the police department, ask for additional patrols, give them the names of the people that, and you can tell your constituents to do this, or you can do it. Give them the names of the people, the addresses, the time of day. It's a form that's on there and that goes straight to our police department.
Okay.
Or you can fill it out yourself, or you can call me and I'll send an email. All those are fine.
Okay.
No, you're fine.
Okay. Is it this one or is it later one?
This is one of them. We're about to finish up here, then we have one at 7.
Okay.
So you're good.
That's all right.
Okay, that is a good question because I get them all the time too. On Harbor Drive is one of my, it's one of the oldest, it's an old street in town, but it's like a way to Walton Ferry Road. Down in the peninsula, a lot of people use it, and when they're getting home, they're ready to get home, so it happens. And it's unfortunate, but this one guy, I think it was this past weekend, he lit my neighbor's mailbox up and he tore his car up, and I'm sure it's total, but it was smoking and he got out of there and they got his license. So I'll look into that with Chief Miller.
Chairman Skidmore, do you want us to post that link on Facebook? To fill out a form about
Yes.
complaints about traffic?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it would be.
Okay.
Yeah, and
all
if you
think-
would do something,
Yeah.
if you put together a little something, put the link on there, I'll share it.
Okay.
If you'll do something as mayor.
That would be great, Jamie, see our mayor, seriously, it would be.
I actually put it in my newsletter, which is not a city newsletter, a month ago, and it got a lot of attention and police got a lot of emails. Maybe it's 2 months ago, but that's not a bad thing.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do
All
that.
right, thank you. There's you have anything?
I wanted to ask, I'm getting calls, but it's about Beatty Farm. What's the status on that and when will it be open?
We're still
I don't have a status on Beatty Farm currently. I believe there's a meeting tomorrow afternoon that I've been invited to, but I haven't been involved with that project previously. So I'm sorry, I don't have a status to give you on that one.
Okay, I will make a note to attend the meeting.
Okay. Couple of things, the only couple of things I have. One is we have a drainage issue on the corner of Plumley. And I believe it's Stadium or Shiloh, I think it is Shiloh. To take it, the address is 225.
Yeah.
I think what's gonna need to be I'm not trying to poison the well, but it's gonna need to be drained, the trench deeper.
Mhm.
And then also there might be, which might turn into a prioritization of the culverts and the drainage pipes. And there, I think there may be some on both sides of Plumley Drive that are collapsed.
Okay.
But if you'll have them look at that and then come back to me at the next meeting, just let me know. Hopefully we'll be having some good days where they can get out. Hopefully it's not a lot of rain because that whole place over there floods, and there's probably gonna be about 4 or 5 houses. Larry's, I know Larry, I can't remember his last name, but I know him. I've known him for a long time. Over there next to Belinda's house, and it constantly floods, and it's a direct result of the water that's coming downstream.
Okay.
But if you all would take a look at that, and I'm gonna give you Belinda's phone number, and that way, if either you or whomever the engineer is gonna go look at, you might want to call her, because she'll be able to tell you a great deal. She's a great lady,
Okay.
and she knows her stuff, and so she's a super individual. And there's several, probably about 5 or 6 houses over there that are directly affected from this.
Okay.
The other issue is, I would like for you to, and I don't know the box number, but on Anchor Drive, at the top of the hill and to the right,
Mhm.
look at his backyard. It seems to be flooding. The issue will be, there's like, everybody on Anchor Drive will have to, I'm sure, unless the law has changed or whether our policy has changed, are gonna have to agree with it. I'm not so sure that's gonna be the case. I've looked at this thing for a while, and I don't see any, it hasn't changed. In other words, I haven't seen any change, is what I'm saying. And the unfortunate part of it is that the water goes directly to the lake.
Mhm.
And so there may be an issue of having the Corps of Engineers involved in this with ARAP permits and that kind of thing. This is a very detailed drainage issue, and it may be too detailed.
Okay.
Because I can tell you the times that we had the drainage over on in Ward 6, and it was, we finally got it fixed, but it was very, it was just a hard project. And then I think that's the only other, those two that have really been brought to my attention. I want to tell you the paving on Rockland looks really good. And I've had a lot of phone calls on that. So but we got to watch the speeders now.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
That's what happens.
And so, but, as chairman of Public Works, I appreciate that, because although it directly affects Ward 1, it also affects Ward 2 and the rest of the city of Hendersonville, and I appreciate your efforts on that. So thank you all for that. I think that's the only other. Oh, and there's another issue too, but
Let me interrupt real quick.
Yeah.
That would not have happened had we not added the $500,000.
I know. Oh,
So, I mean, that's y'all too, that
Well,
made that happen.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. I'll just leave it at that. It made a lot of people happy. And that's what we're here for, even though we had one tonight that we weren't that happy. She was not happy with us, but there's a lot of people that are happy about Rockland. And because that is one of the oldest streets in Hendersonville, period.
Used to be Main Street before Gallatin Road had a bridge that went where it is now. 80 years ago, that was the main road that came into town.
Yeah, one of my dearest friends parked his car missed the bridge and landed in the trees one years ago. and he survived it. And that road was rough back then, so, you know, when, I don't know, I'm not gonna say whether that road was a reason why he landed in the trees, but he did, and they were able to get the car down and everything. And so everything worked out, but it's got a colorful history.
Yeah.
Of things
like
like
it.
that. Yeah, it does. But anyway, thank you again for that. I don't know of anything else that I can think of. Do you have anything else, Lee?
No, we've covered everything.
All right, well, we've done well tonight. We've got about an hour before our regular board meeting and then our trash meeting. So I need a motion to.
I'm motion to adjourn.
Okay, we got 1 second. And we adjourned at 5:56.